Okay. So today we're going to look at research methods. So by the end of this topic, you should be able to explain the difference between a research method and versus research methodology. You should be able to describe different research methods. You should be able to explain the process of conducting a research survey. So among the so many research methods, we are going to look at the survey research method. Let's see how. We're going to look at the survey research method in detail. And then we shall, we shall look at the survey research method in detail. And then we shall explain the concept of research validity. What does it mean that research is valid? It's something that is important when you're planning the research or you're writing your research methodology. So let's get started. So by now, at least we understand that to begin to the very first step in doing research is conducting a literature review. I am hoping that you all now have appreciated, have gone through this, and I'm hoping you're going through this and understanding what that means. And then you formulate a research question or you get a research problem out of the literature you have done, and then you get the appropriate research design. And that's where we are at today. That's what we're going to look at. And you collect data, interpret findings, and publish. So depending on the type of research that you're doing, for example, if you're doing basic research, basic fundamental research, you just analyze existing knowledge and you synthesize new knowledge. That is especially true if you're doing conceptual research. Then if you're designing a solution of sorts, you'd have to first analyze a problem, and then you design the procedure or how you're going to go around solving this problem. You design the solution for it, and you implement the solution, you evaluate your work. This is more like the typical software engineering, computer science, IS, where we have a problem that we want to develop an IT solution for, and there you have to get the needs, see the goals, pre-existing knowledge in problem analysis. And this is again where we are at now, and our research that is for developing some kind of project would follow this second one. And then there's the empirical research. I am hoping by now we all understand what the word empirical means, that you're collecting data. And again, you start with the research problem, and then you get your strategy, and then you go about. Now this third is where we are. So always where most of your projects, I hope, will be, where you get the strategy or the methodology. That's what this is. And then if you're going to do a survey, you do your sampling, then you collect the data, then you analyze it and you interpret. So first, I'm hoping from this slide that you can appreciate that there are different ways of research. It can have some different steps, but we are mainly here at the empirical kind of research because we shall collect data. And for software engineering and for your next year, you shall mainly be here at design type of research. Steps are much the same, just that at the design kind of research, you're having a solution you want to propose. Yeah. So typically, for the research, after you've got your research aims, problems, that's it. Again, I'm saying this is where most of you are. I hope you are. Then you decide whether your research will be qualitative or quantitative. And then you decide the methods, whether you shall use qualitative or quantitative methods or a mix of them. And then you decide what data you collect, whether it shall be qualitative or quantitative or a mix. So for today, we are here at the methodology level, and we shall also look at the methods if time allows. So what does it mean to have methodology and to have methods? So methodology, you see, there are so many ways of doing research. There's so many types of research. So the variety and complexity of research situations and issues requires researchers to be familiar with fairly a wide range of research methodologies and methods. So a methodology is a coherent collection of theories, concepts, or ideas as they relate to a particular discipline or field of inquiry. The methodology includes the research methods used, the justification for and assumptions for, and underpinning a particular study. So the methodology is like the thought or the approach that a certain discipline will have towards research. And out of that, it will determine the kind of methods used. It will determine how data is collected. The methodology will determine how data is collected and everything from that particular field of study. And then the research method is like a subset of methodology, and it is a strategy of inquiry which moves from the underlying assumptions of a particular discipline to research design and data collection. Then within software engineering and within IT, we have we still have now methods, techniques, or tools. And a method in the context of software engineering and IS, ways of doing things, is an approach to perform a system development project. Again, now this method that I'm explaining is a bit different from research method, though it's really all the same. It's a way of doing things. But just that now, if you're software engineering and then you say, we're using this method to design, or using this method to analyze. So a method is an approach to a system development project based on a specific way of thinking, consisting of directions and rules, structured in a systematic way in developing activities with corresponding development products. And then in this case, a technique would be a procedure, possibly with a prescribed notation to perform a software development activity. Then a tool is possibly an automated means to support a certain software development process. Now, this slide, I'm explaining this terminology more from the aspect of software development or system development jargon. While here, this is more like the broader research methods and research methodology of thinking. And again, I'll explain that because of the different goals of research, and the two goals are meaning for us. Remember, I said that we are learning research as a whole, and then we learn research as it is related to IT and IS. And that's why these two words. So just before I say that, just bear with me briefly. Just a second. Some slide I would have wished to put here. Just Okay, I was just looking for this slide. I don't know if you can see that. All right. Do you all see a slide that has so many colors? Okay. Can you type for me in the chat what you're seeing, or unmute yourself and tell me what you're seeing? All right, thank you, Joyce. Now, I just wanted to make something more clear. That's why I went to look for this slide and first removed it, but then I realized it won't. So when we are talking about methodology, I hope you can see where my cursor is trying to move. The way, how to study it. Basically, research from different disciplines, and now the disciplines are like from natural sciences, then you have social sciences, you have arts, you have music. If you in this slide, what they're trying to show you, we have your statistics, linguistics, anthropology, different disciplines, arts, different disciplines had to come up with their way of doing research based on how they think about research, how they think about the problems within that discipline, and how they will look for knowledge within that discipline. And this, if you can see up here, we have philosophy, the way, how to think about it. And then we have methodology, the way, how to study it. So different disciplines first thought about research, and from their discipline, I mean, from the way of thinking about it, you come up with the way of going about research. And now I won't tell you the different research philosophies you can see here in these colors here, positivism, blah, 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 that one, I won't bother you with that. But what I want you to see, if you can see down here, natural sciences, then you can see here technical sciences. Technical sciences, this is where we are. Natural sciences is where biology, agriculture, physics are. Now, as you can see, physics, their way of doing research is mainly quantitative. You see this there, that within natural sciences, their work is very largely empirical, and they will normally take a quantitative way of doing things. This is also where health is, medicine. Then the technical sciences, this is where engineering is, this is where IT, IS, software engineering, we are. If you just to follow these lines, they end up somewhere saying quan and qual, combined design. And then we have here critical theory. I won't explain to you what critical theory is. For now, you don't need to know that very much. But if you're to follow these colors, you see here, qualitative work is this side of people who think work is postmodern. And now, a lot here I won't explain. But what I wanted you to appreciate is when that slide where I said that research, there are so many ways of doing research. The thing is, it comes down to the kind of discipline or the kind of knowledge that you're looking for. And then that kind of discipline or that kind of knowledge that you're looking for has its ways of going about research. And the reason it has these ways of going about research is because of the type of things this area is trying to address. Now I'll focus in on our area, which is technical sciences. Technically, if you're doing research, these will be our methods. Here we have design research, we have action research, we have collaborative research, and their combined method. It's a combined way of doing research. However, and now I'm going to go a bit slowly as I say these words, however, for now, we are looking at things broadly. And depending on the type of research question you have, your work may be either quantitative or qualitative. Now, I want to go slowly so that I'm sure you're with me. Let me just go back a bit there. That this slide, that's what we meant, that the research methodology, a coherent collection of theories, concepts, and ideas as they relate to a particular discipline or field of inquiry. In this slide here, these are the disciplines. Each of these disciplines, humanitics, these disciplines have their way. Our discipline is this one, technical sciences. And for next, if you were doing your master's in software engineering or ITIS, you'll be required to use some of these methods. But for us now, we're just looking at research generally, and we'll be looking at our problems that are from the education work that I gave us is mainly this side, but it doesn't matter. I will keep guiding you. So I want you just what I want you to appreciate the methodologies, and out of methodologies come methods. Again, if you look at this slide, we have here the quantitative methodology. Under it has methods: experiment, survey, quasi-experiment, field experiment. And then the combined ones are down here. Then the qualitative methods, they are this side: case study, life history study, and there are so many methods. Humanitic inquiry, reflective phenomenology, there are so many methods. So our class today, we are going to look at the methods, and I've explained that the methodologies, we have the quantitative methodology, we have the combined methodology, and we have the qualitative methodology. Out of these, we have methods. Okay. So now I talk about the research methods. That research methods, the methods used in research differ from discipline to discipline, but are generally categorized into qualitative methods, and these fall under the qualitative methodology. Then we have quantitative methods. These are under the quantitative methodology. And then we have the integrated one, or the combined research methods. So the qualitative methods, or under the qualitative methodology, we have, these are methods that are used to manage qualitative data for understanding and explaining social phenomena. For example, data from interviews, documents, participant observation data. And these methods include case study, action research, ethnography, grounded theory. And then we have the quantitative methods, and these are for the quantitative methodology. Okay, and they are methods that are used to study natural phenomena. These include survey methods, lab experiments, numerical methods like mathematical modeling, and formal methods. And for today, not for today, but basically we shall, under the quantitative method, we shall look at the survey method in detail. The lab experiments, we shall just talk about them briefly. And again, let me get back to this slide, that as you've seen, the natural sciences, the ones that use experiments a lot, the quantitative method. And so far, again, I said the technical sciences, we use a lot of the combined methods. All right, thank you, Jacinta, for that question. I'm going to explain it a bit. Somebody has asked me what is ethnography and grounded theory. So these are ways of doing qualitative research. If you're to look here, where this word qualitative is, just look here, there is grounded theory. And ethnography somewhere up here. And we're going to look at them both. They're all qualitative methods, and we shall look at them both. So first we begin with looking at the case study method. So case study method is typically applied in socially related research, and it involves an in-depth study of a single individual, a group, an incident, or a community. So just like the word sounds, case study, you get a case and you study it. It is the most common qualitative method used in information systems. So typically, if you're doing information system research, you say you have a case. It's a hospital, you want to develop for it an IT. So that is the case you're studying. That particular hospital, you get its problems, and then you get its, from it you shall get the requirement, you shall do the system analysis with that. That is your case that you're studying. So a case study is an empirical inquiry. Again, by now, whenever you see the word empirical, means you're going down to the roots and getting data. So it's an empirical inquiry that investigates a contemporary phenomenon within its real-world context. So this case study doesn't just apply to only IS, it can be used for anything. Even if you're doing research, you want to understand people living with HIV, how they have been affected. So you get a case, one lady living in Katanga, she has HIV. So you study this one case or anything. So that's what it means that, and you study this lady, you see her real life in her day-to-day life, you study her day-to-day life. So it investigates a phenomenon in its real world, in its real life text, especially when the boundaries between this phenomenon and the context are not clearly evident. The researcher gives the product of this research to others to use to achieve some goal. So with case study, let's say you are studying this lady, you get to know the detail of how people living with HIV, how it's affecting them, and all based on this case. And then you can give these results to some other people to use. And then, okay, so the case, according to these researchers, a case study is an empirical method. Again, I said, all right. And it has certain steps that you follow when you're doing a case study method. These include designing the study, collecting the data, analyzing the data, and concluding, almost just like any typical research. And within the case study method, you can use other methods. So within the case study, you can do a survey. So you can do a survey of the case. Within that case, you do a survey. Or within the case study, so for example, a survey may be conducted within a case study. And in this case, you do a literature, the point is, within a case study, you can do other methods. You can do a survey, you can do a literature search, you can use ethnographic methods like interviewing and observation. These you use them to collect data. So the case study, you have this case that you're studying. As you're studying it, you can use other methods, ethnographic methods, literature searches, survey, all under that case study method. And then we have action research. Now, just like the words action research sound, is action, the research. So it is an attempt to solve real-world problems while simultaneously learning from the experience of solving the problem. So action research has two things. There is a problem that has to be solved and also new knowledge. So as you get new knowledge as you solve the problem. It is carried out in a real-world context with the researcher as part of an organization during an investigation, solution development, and solution implementation. So let me say you work for an organization, a security firm, and there is a problem. Now, you work with the management of the organization, and you prescribe a solution, and then you implement this solution. Now, as you're implementing this solution, you learn from this implementation, you learn from the whole process, You learn more about security and about organizations, let's say in Uganda, something like that. So with action research, you learn as you do. And like the researcher is part of the organization and becomes part of the implementation of this particular solution. So to be able to have action research, it is important to have a problem owner that is willing to collaborate, both in identifying a problem and to engage in an effort to solve it. So again, I'll use that example, that organization. The manager has a problem, he calls a researcher, let's say, it may not even just be a security researcher, even if the problem is, let me say, human resource kind of problem. So I get a researcher who's a human resource researcher who looks at this situation, thinks about it within the human resource theories, says maybe we can do this. Then they do that thing that the researcher said, then they learn from that whole process. Now, the problem owner, in this case, being the manager of the organization, has to be willing to work with the researcher, both to identify the problem, to propose a solution, and then to implement it and solve it. Now, action research has steps. So the first step you have is diagnosing the problem, then action planning what you're going to do, then action taking, implementing that action, evaluation, studying the consequences, and then you have a moment to specify the learning. That is, you now sit down and say, all right, what have we learned from this solution as we have implemented it? What is there to learn that now is fed back into a knowledge base? Again, remember, research is about getting new knowledge. So, but with action research, there is a problem, and now you get this new knowledge as you're solving this particular problem. Okay, so action research is a reflective process of progressive problem solving led by individuals, maybe working in teams or maybe not in teams, but yeah, they have to be in teams unless the problem was just an individual kind of problem. Otherwise, led by individuals working in teams or as part of a community of practice to improve the ways they address issues or solve problems. So action research aims to contribute both to the practical concerns of people in an immediate problematic situation and to the goals of science, not just social science, but to the goals of knowledge by joint collaboration within a mutually acceptable ethical framework. And I don't mind those so many words. So it's just that action research aims to solve both the practical problem and the knowledge gap problem. And the researcher uses the research product in the field to achieve some goals. So unlike case study, whereby we said that with case study, the researcher gives the research product to others to use it to achieve some goals. Here with action research, the researcher uses the research product to achieve some goals. Of course, the goals being that to solve this particular problem that there was to solve. So far we have looked at case study and action research. They are both qualitative methods. And then we have ethnography. Now, ethnography, as you just see the words, ethnos, people, graphy, study. So ethnographic research comes from the discipline of social and cultural anthropology, where an ethnographer or where ethnographers spend their time in the field immersing themselves in the life of people they study, placing the phenomena they studied in their social and cultural context. So ethnography is about studying people as you live with them in simple terms. So you study with people and you live with them for a while. So the researcher acquires an in-depth understanding by seeing what people are doing, as well as what they say they are doing. So with ethnography, since the researcher is really there, the researcher can get a lot of detail, a lot of understanding of the people and of the situation they're studying. So it uses multiple ways to research, observe, and document objects. The objects can be people, they can be events, they can be artifacts, an artifact being like software product. So this kind of research, let's say as IT or software engineering student, there's a story of one time a software developer or developing software for pilots in the cockpit, and that person had to just spend their time with them and study how pilots, how they just do their things so that they can design software that is suitable for them. So that is an example of how ethnography ties in with IT and IS. Otherwise, it's a field, it's a research method used for social and cultural things. And of course, as you may all know, IT and the use of software is indeed a social and cultural thing. So just if you want to study people, how they use the software, you may use this method and you be with them for a while and you see it. So ethnography is systematic and often uses fieldwork, whereby fieldwork is the collection of information outside of a laboratory, library, or work setting. So fieldwork is just how you collect data when you're away from these typical confined either academic or work spaces. And the approaches and methods used for fieldwork research vary in various disciplines. In basic terms, ethnography is the practice of anthropological research based on direct observation of and reportage on people's way of life. So with ethnography, there's direct observation of people, and then you report on them. For the ethnographer, there are two stages. There's fieldwork, which is the process of observing and recording the data. And then there's production of the written description and analysis of the field of study. An ethnographer spends a significant amount of time in the field with his or her subjects and immerses his or herself in the life of the people they are studying. So ethnographic research could take like 6 months, a year. You're with the people if you want to study Baganda and you don't just want to read about them from literature, or you want to see really how Baganda culture has evolved and changed due to the modern trends. So you spend a whole year in a typical Buganda home. And then after that, you spend your time collecting data, collecting everything, and then you write. That's how ethnography works. And again, it's a qualitative method. Being qualitative, as you see, the kind of data you're collecting here is not data that can be is not numerical data that you're collecting when you're doing this ethnography. So the methods again that I'm explaining so far, I'm talking about the qualitative methods, and I just want you again to see that when we said data, we're not meaning numerical data. We are talking text, pictures, stories, all sorts of things like that. And then we have grounded theory. Now, grounded theory, almost just as we see the word say, you have a theory, and then you have grounding. And I'm going to explain what grounding means. So grounded theory is a systematic research method, again, that was adopted from social sciences, though now it's used even in IS and software engineering. But it's a systematic research method that emphasizing generation of theory from data gathered in the process of conducting research. So first, with grounded theory is that there's going to be a theory that is got at the end of that day. A theory being an explanation of how things are happening or why things are happening the way they're happening. And with grounded theory, so it is a practice of developing other theories that emerge from observing a group. So grounded theory, you observe or you collect data, and then you look at existing literature, and then you come up with a theory. So the grounding is in that you are basing your work also on existing literature. So if one is doing grounded theory, they'll collect data, they read theory, they read literature. Literature will tell them what data to collect and what changes to make. They go back, they collect some more data, they read literature, and then at the end of the day, they have an explanation, or they have a theory that they have come up with by carefully mixing literature and data and existing theories. So theories are grounded in the group's observable experiences, but the researchers add their own insight into why those experiences exist. So in grounded theory, these are the steps you have. You identify the area of interest. You collect data pertaining to this area. And you may choose either qualitative or quantitative data, or a mix of both. Yeah, so you collect observation of the area, much the same, and then the kind of data you have, you may need access to private or public records, irrespective of the form. So still the data may be pictures, paints, surveys. You collect data and you interact with individuals or groups of individuals face-to-face or remotely. All this is as you collect data. Then you code your data as you receive it. By coding, we shall look at it again. It's a way of analyzing empirical data. And you more like, if you have text, you give it a way of identifying it. It's a way of analyzing qualitative data. Open coding and data collection are integrated activities. That's the data collection stage and open coding stage, or occur simultaneously. This I shall explain again when we are looking at data analysis. Then after you write memos throughout the entire process, then collect selective coding and empirical sampling, you sort your memos and find the theoretical codes that best organize your subjective codes, read related literature and integrate with your theory through selective coding, and then write up your theory. So I've said many words, I know, but it is a way, again, of coming up with a theory, an explanation. By first collecting data, you analyze it, then you read literature that is related to your theories, literature that is related to the area that you're studying. Then you come up with an explanation that you've got due to the data you collected plus the literature you read. Now that's why it's called grounded theory, that it is grounded very well in data and it's also grounded in literature, but you have a theory at the end. Compared to the other 4 ways of doing things that I said, compared to, let's say, ethnography compared, for example, ethnography, you may not have new literature that you're saying, or you don't have a specific theory that you're coming up with. You're just studying the people and writing about them. That is it. Or if you compare with action research, you're getting new knowledge on a problem, but you're not exactly coming up with a certain theory. So that is now, I think with grounded theory is that you have a new theory that you come up with. And so I have looked at so far 4 qualitative methods. And again, they fall under the qualitative methodology, whereby qualitative is the way that we study phenomena or concepts that cannot be put in a numerical form. So next, I'm going to look at the survey method. Now, the survey method falls under quantitative method. It's considered a quantitative method in the sense that you can use it to get quantitative data. So a survey is a collection of standardized information from a specific population, usually by means of a questionnaire or interview. So the thing with survey is that you're collecting specific standard information from a specific population, usually by means of questionnaire or interview. And why do we use a survey? Or what, again, okay, what's a survey? So it's gathering of a sample of data or opinions considered to be representative of a whole group or population. So with survey, you have a big population that you want to study. So you get some of that population and you ask them standardized questions. Okay, sorry. So the information is collected primarily by asking questions. Oh, yeah, interviewing or questionnaires. And the information is collected from a sample of population, or a portion of the population. And so why a survey is conducted? So surveys are conducted primarily to describe characteristics of a population. So you want to get want to get to know a population, and you want to get to know some characteristics about it. How tall are people, their age, how much they earn, these kind of things. So the researchers use surveys to examine the distribution of the identified characteristics within a population. So you have, again, you want to know how rich people are, how poor, how much do they earn, and you want to examine now the distribution of these characteristics, that maybe in this place people are poor, in this place people are rich, people are like this is how much they earn, those kind of things. So the description of the population as a whole is inferred by results obtained from the sample. So you want to know about a population, you just get a small sample, and from this sample, you conclude. The word here is inferring. You make conclusions about the entire population. So just if you can relate to the other method we have just been looking at, the case study or the ethnography or the case study action research, those there you do not have a big population that you're studying, especially, for example, look at case study, you just have one. Ethnography, you just have a specific group or a specific person, a specific something. But with survey, you have an entire population that you want to get to know specific things about. And again, I said it's a quantitative method. Yeah, it's likely a quantitative method. So surveys may be used for descriptive, explanatory, and exploratory purposes. They are typically used in studies that have an individual as a unit of analysis. And although the method may be used for other units of analysis, some individual persons must serve as respondents or informants. What we mean that with a survey, you are looking at an individual and you're getting this data from an individual, though you have many individuals. All right, just before I can go, I just want to know who can explain to us what we mean by descriptive. If we say that surveys may be used for descriptive purposes. Can somebody explain to us, either type in the chat or unmute yourself and say what we mean by descriptive purposes. Yes, actually these three terms: descriptive, explanatory, and exploratory purposes. Do we understand what any of these three mean? You can either type in the chat or unmute, or put up your hand and I will choose you. All right. So I take it that you all had not understood and you all had not asked me. All right, fine. Then you go find out what those three words mean. By now, I expect that you should know what descriptive means. Because I explained it in the first lecture. Yes, I explained what descriptive means, but please go find out what explanatory and exploratory mean. The answer is in the words. All right, we're coming. Okay, thank you. Can see me? Can see me? Can you type what you've explained? What are you answering? Okay, Kansima, you said that you think it is just to give a brief explanation of a variable under study. Okay, so you think that's what the descriptive process is. Okay, thank you, Kansime. At least I know there's somebody at the other end of the screen. Oh, there's somebody at the other end of the screen. Okay, to give a brief explanation. Okay, thank you, Kansime. Though I'll just now use your we are trying to understand what descriptive and explanatory and exploratory. So descriptive is to describe and explanatory is to explain. And then exploratory is to explore. So simply that is the idea, that surveys can help you to be able to describe a population, or they can also help you to, when you're studying, to get an explanation of why things are happening the way they are, or you can use them when you want to explore, just to explore, just to, you're not going deep. Exploratory, typically exploratory purposes are not as deep as explanatory. You don't want to explain, just kind of want to get a rough idea. That's when you explore. Rough idea, but thank you, can see me. At least you're following. Okay, we're almost coming to end, but let me finish up this. Yeah, let me just come up to that end there. So what are the strengths of survey research? First, it's the only way to probe the opinion of a very large group. So if you have a very large group, survey is the only method that you'll use. Then it's very flexible. It can be used for anything. It can be the medical, business, political, emotional. Yeah, but anyway, in any discipline, you can use surveys. What happened?
Nomukazi tujja muteeraho bino ebiro poza ine Airtel MTN kyetuyakora pozi MTN mugambe ne namba ya Dr. no ya MTN
I'm looking for my
Sorry, my laptop has just gone off. I wanted us to wind up this part. And I'm just restarting it now.
Wange ng'enzo wa kikaki
Okay, sorry. All right, let me first turn off my phone. Okay, sorry. I just want to summarize here and we go. Let me just finish talking about the survey and we shall begin. Oh, steps are still many. All right. All right. Let me finish at least the strengths and weaknesses of the survey research. So I was talking about it. That's a very flexible tool. And that it facilitates hypothesis testing. So it is very easy to test a hypothesis because survey you have your data easily. You can easily get your data and you test. It's not something you cannot do hypothesis testing if, let's say, you're using case study or whatever. So if you have hypothesis testing, you want to be clear that you can collect your data well, and the survey is a good way to do that. Then it encourages standardization and systematic comparison. So since you collect the same kind of standard answers, you'll be able to compare. Let's say you have men, you can have data that is from men, and then you have that's from women, then you can compare very well. Or you have data from the young, and then you can compare versus the old. Because when you give a survey, typically you first collect some data about the people. Some demographic data about them, and then you can easily compare. Then the weaknesses, because you standardize, then you lose some data. So surveys you don't easily get why. Then sometimes respondents may not have an opinion on something you're asking them, or they may not be actively engaged, or they may lie. So there are some of those weaknesses with the survey. All right, I shall stop here. And we shall meet tomorrow. Since we are meeting again, let me stop here. Yes, we meet tomorrow at 2. I shall continue with experimentation and more on the survey tomorrow. I just didn't want to just end abruptly like that. But yeah, thank you for being patient. Those of you who have been patient up to now. Yes, welcome, Jean. Now, some of you who had problems with that assignment, I'll just reactivate it, because I don't want you people to send me emails. I will lose. It's easy to lose the assignments if you send email. So all of you who failed to submit, you submit your work on Mwele. I'm going to reactivate it until Thursday. So make sure if you miss to do the work for any reason, or if you send to my email, please send it. Submit it again on Mwele. I don't want to fish through my emails looking for your work. I hope that is clear. All right, thank you. So we meet tomorrow at 2. Thank you for coming. Let me say
Thank you.
And also tomorrow now we shall have lecture for 2 hours. Then I'll ask now your groups to present to me something. So you also get ready. All right, let me say a quick prayer. Dear Lord, I thank you for this lecture. Thank you for my students. I've been patient up to now. I continue to ask that shall open their minds to understand research. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.